So video number 2, we're going to talk about our other key features. This one sounds like a lot more key features, but I'll be honest, I probably find this one to be a little bit easier and more straightforward than the period. So hopefully these won't be too painful. We've got a maximum value, we've got a minimum value. And one of the things that we might notice is for maximum value, if we look at our graphs, we keep, and I'm going to come down to this graph right down here, right? Here's a maximum point, here's a maximum point, here's like, you're not going to name all of these maximum points. You're just not, okay? But what you are going to do is tell me what the maximum Y value is, right? Just tell me the highest Y value. Same thing for minimum, right? We've got lots of minimum points. I don't want to know them all, right? You can't label them all. This graph keeps going and going and going, so your minimum points keep repeating and repeating and repeating, so you're just going to tell me the lowest Y value, okay? So that's maximum, minimum. The midline, like we talked about with that, if you watch the first video, the midline is the middle. It's right between the minimum and maximum values. So if you read the definition here, it's the equation is the average of the minimum and maximum. So if we think about midline, and we know that average is the minimum plus the maximum divided by 2. Okay, so that's how average works, right? Take your two numbers, add them up, divide by 2. That's exactly how we're going to find the midline if you're not sure what the graph looks like, right? If you can't quite tell what it looks like on the graph, use the formula. Amplitude, it's the distance. Now stop and think for a second. Distance has to be positive. Okay, so keep that in the back of your head. The distance is the midline to the maximum, okay, or the midline to the minimum. Okay, either one works because they're the same thing. And if your midline truly is the midline. How to find amplitude? So for amplitude, if you can't quite count it off the graph, or you're not sure about it, that should be an equal sign. Let me put that in. Equals 1/2 maximum minus minimum. Okay. So if we put this into practice and we try problem number 7, right? We're looking for maximum, minimum, the midline, and then the amplitude. So maximum, let's go ahead and put in a ceiling here, right? This is the highest our graph ever gets to, and right here we're hitting a Y value of 5. So your maximum is going to be 5. Minimum, if we put a floor in, right, our lowest value here, right, this graph is never going to get any lower than -1. Okay. Midline is the average of those two. So if I take 5 plus -1 and divide by 2, so that would be, let's see, 4 over 2 is 2. So midline would be the line y equals 2. And midline is truly a line. Okay, so make sure you're writing it as y equals. Okay. Now, amplitude, you can do one of two things. If your midline is an integer and your maximum is an integer or your minimum is an integer, you should just be able to count the spaces. Okay, so if I do this and I look at this distance from the midline to the maximum, that's 1, 2, my amplitude's 3. Okay, it is 3 units from the midline to the maximum, or I can count 1, 2, 3 units to the minimum. Okay, either direction, it doesn't matter. They're both the same thing. If you can't count it, right, we've got this nifty little formula right here. Just want to be careful with your negatives. So you would have 1/2, the maximum was 5, minus the minimum of -1, right? Be careful with the double negative. So let's see, 1/2, 5 minus the negative 1 would be 5 plus 1. So 1/2 of 6, and 1/2 of 6 is 3. So amplitude is 3. Let's see what other things we had here. We had a maximum of 5. We had a minimum of -1, midline, and amplitude. We got them all. All right. I'm going to go ahead and do one of the practice problems, just so you can see period again and all of these key features. I'll do problem number 8. Okay. So first thing it asks for is period. If I look at the y-axis, pretty sure that's the middle, so let's see if that works. I'm going to go down to the minimum, up to the maximum, back to the middle. Yeah, that was good. And if I follow that down, that would be a period of 2 pi. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have maximum. So if I draw in a ceiling here, right, highest points, that's going to be 4. Let's see, minimum. Let's draw on a floor, our lowest points. So that would be -2. I'm actually going to do the midline first, and then I'll talk about amplitude. I'll find the amplitude last. So let's see, midline is going to be right between 4 and -2. So let's see, if I do 1/2 the average, so 4 plus -2. So 1/2, 4 plus -2 is 2. So my midline should be y equals 1. Go ahead and draw that in. Actually, I don't need it to be dotted. I'm just going to go ahead and solidly draw that in. There we go. Okay, there's the midline. And amplitude, I can count that out. Let's see. What color I haven't used? There we go. So from the midline up to the maximum is 3 units. Let's double check that. If I do 1/2 the maximum minus the minimum, so 1/2, let me actually show you that one. 4 plus 2 is 1/2 times 6, and that's 3. All right, so we have all the key features for problem number 8. Okay. Problem number 9 and the other problems use as practice. If you have any questions, let me know.